This is an oil painting that's 10 by 15 and it's on paper. It's based on that illustration which was done several years ago for a graphic novel about the Dalai Lama. And this illustrated over the span of 35 pages or so the Dalai Lama's escape from Tibet into Pakistan when the Chinese Communist forces were ascending onto Tibet. So this was a commission that I did a few years ago, and as you might have glimpsed in the flash of the colored illustration earlier, this is a variant. So this was unused, and what I ended up doing was I superimposed another image. And so I had this drawing for many years now on paper, and I had it stored away, and I always planned to do something more with it because I thought it was a great composition, great illustration. So here it is. So the process, which I don't have the original pencils, but you could see the pencils underneath. Okay, so what I did was I had the drawing on paper, on nice quality archival illustration paper, and it just sat there like a lot of some of my nicest artworks. They just sit for a while until like the right moment. And finally, I took it out into the park across the street, spray painted it to give it some background texture. And then now I'm going to town on it to add the layers of oil very lightly, because I'm trying to still see the faint detail of the pencils underneath because it's almost like totally covered. So I'm going step by step. You see I'm using some smudges as well. On the side there, you'll notice that I have actually one jar that's for cleaning brushes, which is just solvent. And then I have another jar which I mix solvent, equal solvent to equal oil, linseed oil, and that I use as a medium to soften the colors or to wet the oil paint. And you can't see it in this scene here, but it's there, and that's something I can go into in tutorials, in more in-depth tutorials. Basically, what I'm trying to accomplish with this painting is to make something that looks finished and is colorful. So I'm keeping the colors of the original story, which I believe the Dalai Lama was wearing kind of almost like an army sort of coat, greenish. I believe it was greenish. Certainly the Pakistani army officials that greeted him across the border, they did have greenish uniforms. I think those were documented. So I'm keeping true to the story. Some people that may look at this illustration, they may not know what it's quite about, but it's just meant to stand alone. The god here has a bit of an intense look. I thought of softening it, but it might have had a different effect, so I try to create a faded look. So he's essentially part of the sky and he's just blending in there. I'm adding some foreground textures here. The Pakistani soldiers are more faded in detail than the Dalai Lama because I feel like they're less prominent than our main hero, so to speak. And the graphic novel was very focused on the god Dorsha Shogren, I believe. So that's the final piece, and there are more tutorials at masterpieceartschool.com.